Welcome back to episode 28 of the ATD Baseball Podcast. It is myself and Matt today. Trade deadline's over. Teams are screwed. Second half is underway. First, Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing great out here on the East Coast. A little toasty, but I don't think it's anything compared to what you got out there. But I'm doing fantastic. Phillies are playing great. I'm thinking we might catch the Braves. No, not actually. I don't think that. But
Oh,
we're looking pretty good in the wild card standings right now. So I'll take that. How about yourself, Mella? How we doing?
fantastic. Before we start, shout out to my mom. It is her birthday today. Uh, Mama Mello, yes, happy birthday. Uh, Nice spending the weekend with her. It was perfect. I didn't work this weekend, so it was nice to have spent a couple days with her and the family. Um, Everything's great, man. Padres lost the World Series this past week. The Dodgers are 4.5 games up in the division, and if the Dodgers can just stay in that 2 seed and get the bye, not going to hear any complaints from me. So I definitely like what I saw from the Dodgers this past weekend.
Yeah, it's what we've grown to expect from the Dodgers, pretty much.
Am right.
Yeah, I don't love to say it, but I'm a little bit
Oh,
jealous as a Phillies fan. But anyway. Okay. We got three big topics we want to talk about today. Staying out in LA, Anaheim
Anaheim.
area. Yep,
There you go.
area. Yep. Mariners sweep the Angels, and now the Angels are not in a very good spot. So we'll talk about that, dive all into that. Of course, the giant topic from across the weekend. Down goes Anderson, Jose Ramirez, and Tim Anderson, with a little boxing match on the field. TA got embarrassed. But we'll talk all about that as well. And then final topic, involving me in a little bit. The NL Central and the NL Wild Card have had a bit of a shakeup recently. So we're going to talk all about that, where we think things are going to end up in the Central and where we think things are going to end up in the Wild Card as well. But let's start right at the top again. Out in Anaheim, Angels swept by the Mariners. Angels haven't won a game since the trade deadline. Made all those moves. Absolutely zero games won. Currently puts them 10.5 games out of the division. 7 of the wild card. What are we feeling about the Angels right now, Mello?
Um, they're done. It's over. Thank you for coming out, Angels. Um, Many people, including myself, thought that the Angels should probably sell at the deadline and more importantly, get as much as you can for Shohei Ohtani. Now everybody was saying he should have been traded last year. Didn't happen. The Angels doubled down on it this year, saying we're keeping him and then we're gonna put people around him, CJ Crone, um, Giolito, a whole bunch of pieces. And on paper, it looked like, you know what? And at the time, at the deadline, it made sense. They were playing very well. They were in striking distance. They made moves. It made sense. I'm not going to kill them for that. But they haven't won a game since. And listen, I understand the American League is probably not that good this year, especially when you start getting into those wild card teams that are not in it or in the striking distance. Yes, I understand the Angels can go on a run here, but what have I seen in years past to show me that that's going to happen? I understand that Mike Trout is supposed to come back. That's one person. And I know that one person is Mike Trout and he's incredible. I don't think the Angels are going to make it. And people before me, even after they made all these trades at the deadline, still didn't think they were going to have enough and still didn't think they were going to make it. And you know what? I'm joining them too. I'm sorry, Angels, but it's not happening. And for all you people who were giving me shit on that post and that comments about why I don't think Otani's going to be staying. I really hope they were watching those Angel games over the last week.
If they were, they realize the sad truth is that Shohei Otani wants to win games and compete for World Series championships. And the Anaheim LA Angels is not a good spot to do that at. Yeah, Melo saying Dodger Stadium is a good spot to do that at. And I would probably tend to agree because I made this comment earlier. I said it in our group chat. I said, I honestly believe if the Angels and Dodgers just swapped rosters, just a full swap, 40-man for 40-man roster at the beginning of the season, I believe the Dodgers would still be great with the Angels roster, and the Angels would be bad with the Dodgers roster. I don't know what it is, but the Angels franchise, as of recently, since 2002, 2002. Yes, okay. Has not been good, has not been consistent, has not been great, hasn't really made the playoffs. You know, people make fun of my Phillies. We hadn't made the playoffs for a long time. Well, we got back to it. The Angels are up there now in longest playoff droughts. It's going to be 8 years. Mike Trout once in his career. And now you've had 5 or 6 years of Shohei. 6 years of Shohei and Mike Trout. The two greatest players of our generation. And one of them is on track to possibly be the greatest player of all time. The other one, we said he was on track to be one of the greatest players of all time, too. And you can't figure out how to piece just a few pieces around him. You keep making the wrong decisions on who to bring in. You sign these guys who you're paying them for their success with the Dodgers, with the Orioles, with, you know, all these teams, and then they don't end up good with you. I honestly thought, and I would buy into the Angels hype every season in the offseason, you know, because how could you not buy into hype around Mike Trout, Shohei Otani, Tyler Anderson coming off a good season, top catching prospect Logan O'Hoppe. Hey, maybe this was the year Anthony Rendon stays healthy and turns it around.
How's that Anaheim lifestyle? How's that Disneyland lifestyle? Pretty good, huh?
I was believing too much in the pixie dust there and the magic of Disneyland because there's nothing there every single year. And we thought, like you said, trading at the trade deadline, they were going to be able to make a change. Well, that hasn't happened. And yeah, they are done. They are out. They're below 500. They're not in a spot to compete, really. And I know you guys can say there's the whole half a month, 3/4 of a month of August, plus all of September yet. All right, well, what other teams do you see letting up in the wild card spots right now? The Mariners are just turning it on in your own division. Hey, you just got swept by them. The Blue Jays are in a great spot. You know, the Astros are not giving up. There's the Orioles, the Rays, the Rangers, all those other teams. The Twins are trying to maybe put it together a little bit. You know, all these teams they're not just going to fall over dead for you, okay? You're not going to make the playoffs this year. That's it. I'm sorry to put it to you like that, but it's not looking good for them at all.
And I'll continue to bury him. You're not making the postseason, and Shohei Otani is not re-signing with you. He's not going to. Now listen, if Artie Moreno comes to him and says, here's $800 million, and he stays, you know what? God bless him. Money, then I guess money was more valuable than the winning.
Yeah.
You're not making it. I'm sorry, Angels. See you next year.
I mean, yeah, why would Shohei want to stick around in LA if they're just going to keep not making the playoffs every single season. And honestly, if you're saying, hey, there's a glimmer of hope for them yet this season, just some of the teams they have coming up in their schedule here. The Rays, I should start at the beginning. The Giants, the Astros, the Rangers, the Rays, and the Reds. That's all in a stretch there. I know my Phillies are also in there to end the month with them. I think there's a Mets before that series. So even if you're trying to say you can claw your way back in, those teams that I just listed off are all either playoff teams or in a serious competition in the midst of looking for a playoff berth. So, I mean, you got a long road ahead if you really think like bring Mike Trout back is just going to flip a switch.
Yeah, and the one thing, like I said, this is typical Angels. The one thing you didn't want to do was get swept by a team you're chasing. That just makes the mountain even harder to climb. But give credit to Seattle Mariners. It's after a rough, very difficult first half, they've turned it around. They are 8 games above 500. They're 60 and 52, and they are 3 games back of the final wild card spot, which is currently held by the Toronto Blue Jays. So they're playing better baseball, and the momentum that the Angels could have had if they would have taken this series 3 out of 4, if they even a split at this point, just goes right back to the Seattle Mariners, and now maybe they're going to go on a run.
Yeah, very well. I mean, a lot of people had them as one of the top AL teams this season. You know, we were thinking Astros, Mariners for the division. And if not, Mariners are definitely going to be a wild card team. As I probably uttered those words myself. Everybody was thinking, hey, MVP season from Julio Rodriguez. Luis Castillo is going to have a great season. Not that he hasn't, but like that they were going to lead the team to a division championship or, you know, close to at least a wild card berth. That hadn't been the case. And now all of a sudden they really flipped the script on the Angels. They sort of stole their spot in the playoffs or in the playoffs hunt. And like you said, they're right there now. They're within striking distance. And it meant so much for the Angels, like having no momentum coming out of the trade deadline after you made all those moves is just brutal. Like that's a total, like you said, momentum killer, mood killer, whatever you want to say. Like vibes killer because you brought all these guys in. You're like, hey, we're getting some reinforcements. We're going to go out there and win. And, well, obviously that just literally has not happened since the trade deadline. Not one win. I think Lucas Giolito has made 2 starts for them and hasn't won either and hasn't looked good in either. So, I don't know. I'm a little disappointed in the Angels. You probably don't feel that way, but like,
Yeah, I do to a certain degree. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I know I give off the vibe that I don't care. But I mean, if this was the year to do it, this was the year to do it.
yeah,
May I remind you that the Astros did not get off to the hottest start this season,
not at
and
all.
they figured it out. And a team like the Rangers, who none of us expected, well, Matt expected, but none else of us did, to be very good. Yeah, I'll give you credit for that one.
That's right.
I'll give you that one. I'm not saying this division was very winnable, but it was definitely there to be in the hunt and definitely be in the mix with Seattle, Texas, and Houston, and they haven't done any of that. But I mean, they're not completely dead. I know like Fangraphs has them like at less than 10% to make the postseason now, but it's do or die time now.
Yeah,
You're running out of games. There's not 100 games left on the schedule anymore. It's like less than 60 games. And if you're not in, just looking at the wild card again, if you're not at least 3 games, 3.5 with a month to go, you're not going to get in.
Yeah.
You're just not.
I know you're used to collapsing the Angels. Well, you can't expect other teams to collapse with you just so you can stay in the race because they're not going to do that. They're not all run like you. They don't all uh, fail to make the playoffs every year like you do. So
Let me
you
put it
can't
to you
be.
this way: as bad as the Yankees have been all season and inconsistent, they are still ahead of you in the standings.
Yeah,
That's a problem. And I'm sure Kyle, if he was here, he would agree with me also.
yeah.
That's a problem. They're 4 games above 500. You're a game under 500. That's an issue.
Mind you, Aaron Judge hasn't played like half the season for the Yankees, while you've had Shohei Ohtani healthy the whole season. Mike Trout for maybe a third of the season, half. I
Quarter
don't
of it,
know.
more than a little
Yeah,
less than a half of it.
yeah, somewhere around there. And like you just said, which team's in the better spot right now? It's the Yankees. And I mean, not neither team are necessarily in great spots, but either way, still, like you said,
Yankees
four
still got a
games above
shot.
500. Yes, there's still a chance there. Anything else we want to add to Mariners Angels? No.
No, I mean, the Angel fans want to continue to lie to themselves. Go ahead. Go for it. Maybe one day you'll wake up and listen to me.
Well, when that day comes, Shohei Ohtani will already be in a Dodger jersey. So
Probably. Yeah. So maybe it's too late.
yeah, I would guess it is. But we'll move on now. We talked enough about the Angels for Melo's liking. Um, there was quite quite the fight in Major League Baseball. Honestly, probably one of the best, like top 5 fights of all time, like fight moments of all time in Major League Baseball. Uh, you thought the season could get any worse for Tim Anderson. Man just hit his
Mr.
first
Robinson.
home. He just hit his first home run of the season like 2 weeks ago, and now he's out here getting knocked out, knocked down, not knocked out. I shouldn't say knocked out, knocked down by Jose Ramirez. What did you think when you saw this?
This was not your ordinary fight because we've seen scraps like this happening before. But this time you had two guys that stared at each other in the face. Tim Anderson took off his glove, took off his glove, and they both squared up at each other and stared at each other for a good 2 seconds and then went at it. And we haven't seen that before. Usually it's just pushing and shoving, and then both teams will break out and that'll happen. This was one on one, mano a mano. I don't like how hard you tagged me. I don't think I did anything wrong. Let's have at it. To me, that was the big difference. That was because when I first saw it, I was like, okay, this is just an ordinary. And then once I saw them square up, I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then, listen, just like you said, what a rough year it's been for Tim Anderson. You know,
Yeah,
you think at the beginning of the season, he thought number one, the White Sox were going to be good. He was going to be on a contending team. Let's start there. And then number two, when the White Sox fully waved the white flag and said they were trading everybody, he probably thought he was getting traded too. But because of the crappy season he's had this season, he is still a White Sox. Now listen, that could change in a year. He'll get traded in the offseason after this. Or maybe his value will go up again and he'll get traded or something. Or maybe they'll just build around him. I don't know. But this was two guys that squared up. And yeah, I understand the other teams got involved, but I kind of wanted to see how that would have played out if it was just one on one.
I mean, I think we saw a bit of a preview of how it would have ended up. I think J Ram definitely wins the fight. Now to give Tim Anderson credit, he did land the first couple punches, and J Ram did whiff at least one, and before connecting, whether it was lucky or not, I don't know, but it was an impressive fight. You know, obviously, personal favorite was Bautista Odor, of course, and then I like the Bryce Harper throwing the helmet at. I use at lightly there at Hunter Strickland because he missed him by 20 feet. But I think that was a fun fight too. Obviously, Nolan Ryan, whoever he was just beaten in the face, that was a good fight too. But this one, like you said, this was different. This was throw your glove down, square up, take half a second. Both guys get together, push the umpire out of the way so that they can fight, and then square up, and then finally start like trading blows. No teammates were there to pull them off really before. Like Kopech was there trying to pull off whoever. I don't even know if he was trying to pull off
I
Tim
think he tried
Anderson
to pull off J Ram.
Okay.
I think he tried to get J Ram out of there.
Yeah. I mean, if you're Michael Kopech, what are you doing? If you're going all in to try and grab somebody, you got to actually pull them
You better
off.
get him.
Yeah. And now it looks like you didn't really try that hard with JRM knocking down your teammate. Makes you look like a bad teammate. I got to ask you this. If you were a teammate of either one of these guys on the field, what's your reaction to it? Like you're playing first base and you see this fight break out. What's your go-to? Like, what are you going to do?
I would run over there, but I'm not going to be the one trying to get guys out of there. I'm just being honest. You can call me a coward. You can call me whatever you want. I will be there with my teammates, fully supporting, but I'm definitely not going to be the one throwing punches, and I'm not going to be in the scrap trying to get them out of there. I'll probably just end up talking to the opponent on the other team that didn't want to fight either. I'll probably just end up talking to him. How's your day been? This is crazy, huh? I know we're supposed to fight, but let's have a nice conversation. Um, that's just me. But well, what about you? What would you do? Would you be all up in there, or would you kind of just watch it all unfold?
Well, funny enough, I had this situation sort of unfold in a basketball game when I was like
Ooh,
a sophomore, I think it was. And I was just across half court on our side, and then the fight broke down in opposite corner 3-point on their side, and I was like, nope. I just stood there by the bench the whole time. Everybody else on the court was down there, other side, either
ooh.
fighting or trying to pile on people. Listen, I was like, I'm not trying to get involved in this. I love my teammates, but what were you doing? I mean, he was the one who he didn't. Maybe he threw the first punch. I don't remember, but either way, what's me going down there gonna do? Like, I'm not dragging you off. Probably there's already a whole dog pile around them, and I'm not fighting anybody because I'm not trying to get suspended. So like, I'm just gonna stay here, make it clear and obvious to anybody else I wasn't involved in this. Maybe I was called a bad teammate behind my back. I don't know, to be honest. But there's my take on what I don't know if I'd do that in this situation. I'd probably fall more like in what you said, trying to. I'd be there, but I'm not gonna be
I'd be
dragging people off.
standing in the back.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll
I
be with
think
the
the one
bullpen
of the
guys.
most fun things, yeah, the bullpen guys. They run the whole way in and then just kind of stand there the whole time. But like this fight broke off like a little bit to like branches too, like because then like Pedro Grifal, somebody threw a punch at him. I think the whole like the mob sort of scooted over to the uh foul line and then near the bench, and they just kept going at it.
And this is the worst thing if you're Tim Anderson. Again, it continues to get worse. All the comments from his teammates, they're kind of glad that happened to him. I'm very surprised. They were pretty okay. It seems from all the comments that I've heard, it seems like a lot of his teammates were completely fine of him getting knocked down. No problem whatsoever. And that continues to raise the question, what the hell is going on with the White Sox behind closed doors?
For real.
It made sense and it just makes more sense. Okay, now we kind of glad they clean house, but it seems like it's still in there. Whatever the toxic energy, whatever's going on in there, and I think now we have an answer. White Sox are a mess. They're a huge mess right now.
They're probably the most of a mess franchise that baseball has right now. There's other teams in other ways, whether it's front office, whether it's I don't really think the players there's a toxic cloud surrounding them like there is with the White Sox, just with all these things coming out. Recently traded to the Yankees, Keenan Middleton was saying how players were sleeping in the bullpen. Rookies were sleeping. People weren't showing up for meetings. And then today, a report came out that Yasmani Grandal wanted to leave for the All-Star break a game early. And Tim Anders said, "Oh, okay, that's okay. If you don't want to be with us, whatever, I'll pay for your flight to get out." Obviously not being genuine, being a nice guy. He's being sarcastic about it and, whatever. And reportedly, Yasmani Grandal slapped him in the face. He wasn't taking that. So I don't know. Is Tim Anderson the issue there?
Seems like he is. And if not, everybody's pointing the finger at him. Hey, you know what? We need to point the finger at somebody. Tim Anderson, we are pointing the finger at you. You are going to get outcasted. And I'm sure you saw his tweets over the weekend.
Yeah. Crazy tweets. Made you think if he actually did have a concussion, a bad concussion, things he was saying, but no.
I mean, he was seeing stars after that too. Did you see that video of him kind of, his teammates literally had to kind of walk him off.
I think it's always funny when, like whether it is boxing, UFC, or anything, somebody lands a good punch, and then when they fall down, just that little wobble they do on their way down, you could see Tim Anderson do it a little bit. I was like, oh, that's how you know it was he made a nice connection there. But yeah, seems to be a pretty toxic environment there for the White Sox. And I don't know. I think it starts partially at the top with the owner and just management there. Not really a good situation, but it's kind of sad to see because just 2 years ago, we were picking them to go to the ALCS every year and go to the World Series. And now they're a mess and nobody would even think twice about doing that.
No, at one point 2 years ago, the White Sox were very good, and the Cubs were having this big, massive fire sale of getting rid of everybody. And we thought, all right, here we go. The White Sox. I didn't say nobody thought they were going to take over Chicago or anything, but it was like, okay, Cubs are selling. They're not going to be any good for the couple of years. White Sox, it's your time now. You're going to be good for the next couple of years. You got this good young core. And in 2 years, it's all dismantled. And they're starting from scratch again. And I'm sure more is going to come out, especially when all these guys are gone. But man, it's just what a fall from grace for the White Sox. They had one good year. They had like two good years. They had the COVID year and then 2021, and that's as good as it got. A division series loss to the Houston Astros. That's as good as it was going to get. And I think if you would have told all those fans in the ballpark that night leaving after losing to the Astros, they probably were like, you know what? The Astros are a superior team. We're going to come back, get better, and we're going to be right back here next year. Nope. That's it. It's as good as it's going to get.
You're never going to sniff that success again with this core.
Yep. And I think all those White Sox fans would have said you're crazy. And I think a lot of baseball fans would have said you're crazy.
Yeah. Definitely. We'll put a cap on this. It ended up being Jose Ramirez suspended 3 games. Tim Anderson suspended 6 games. Bunch of fines handed out. I think each of the managers got a game. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. I know Grifol did, the White Sox manager. I don't know if Tito did, but lots of fines handed out.
I liked his comments after the game too.
Yes. Yeah.
He was kind of. It was almost kind of a little mocking the White Sox a little bit. Like, hey, they're the ones with the problems, not me. I think it's funny.
Yeah, and the White Sox really didn't make any comments afterwards, which is don't love that. Like your manager didn't go out and protect your guys or say anything about that. So it was a little confusing. Don't love that look, but we'll move on now. Last topic. It'll be a little bit because we got to discuss this pretty in depth, but NL Central's had a bit of a shakeup. And coming with that, obviously the NL wild card as well, with 3 teams from the Central being in the race for the wild card. The current, I should probably pull up the updated ones because some games have ended from today already. There was a big series with the Reds. They got swept, and then I forget who they were playing. I don't even remember. That's bad hosting by me. I apologize that.
You said the Cubs or the Reds?
Yeah, Reds.
Oh,
I don't know. Anyway, so Brewers are currently in first at 60-53. The Reds are sitting 1 game back at 60-55. The Cubs are at 58-54, 1.5 games back. So really, the Cubs seemingly made the right decision not to trade away Stroman, not to trade away Bellinger.
that's how it's done, Angels.
Go out and get Jeimer Candelario, and now they're legitimately competing for the division.
You know, everybody's so quick to pull the plug on these teams. And I'm so glad that the Cubs were, you know what? We're not going to do that. We understand that Cody Bellinger is having a career year again, and we can probably get something good from him, particularly from the Yankees. Marcus Stroman, we can get stuff for him. But you know what? They said, no, we're going to keep going, and we think we have a good enough squad to compete in a bad division. I think if the Cubs, if they would have seen what's happening with Cincinnati right now, it seems like they're kind of coming back to earth a little bit. And then the Brewers, I think they would have been kicking themselves if they would have sold everybody.
Definitely.
This is a bad division. And then especially with the Cardinals, the down year that they've had, and they were sellers at the deadline. So Cubs are here, man. Maybe, let's see, for this year, just for this season and for the next month and a half we left in the season, they're in it. And if you're a Reds fan, you probably don't want to hear that because it's like the 1 year that the Reds are good. Here come the Cubs having this kind of renaissance out of nowhere. The 1 year we got the Cardinals that are not playing well, and then here come the damn Cubs. So I like it. This Cubs team, this Cubs team is fun to root for. It really is.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of lovable guys and names on there, people that are fun to root for. Now the Brewers, I like to take this from the Brewers' perspective. They were probably walking into this season, and then even like halfway through, they're like, all right, well, the Cardinals suck. Cubs haven't been great. This is before the Reds became decent and contenders. They're like, well, this division is ours. We can coast the rest of the season. I think this gives a shot of urgency to the Brewers for the rest of the year because you mess around here and you're not going to be in the playoffs at all. There's 3 teams competing here, so it's not like, oh, we lose the division by, 2 games, so we're going to be in the wild card. No, not necessarily. There's like 6 teams that are in competition for the NL wild card, legitimately 7 if you'd count the Padres even. So you're not guaranteed a playoff spot, Brewers. This is really, you need to get it going. And I know you made some moves at the trade deadline. I like them. I like getting Marcana. I think that was good, getting Carlos Santana. But you really need to, you can't keep messing around. This isn't your division, just la-di-da, just walk right through. So I hope it can bring some urgency to the Brewers and even the Reds too. I'd love to see the Reds in the playoff. I'm not sure if we can expect that necessarily, but who do you like as of right now coming out of the Central?
It's a great question. And while I give myself more time to think, whoever doesn't win this division is going to be kicking themselves all winter because of how bad this division is. I'm gonna go with the Brewers. The Brewers are one of those teams to me, they always seem to find a way to get it done, to win that division. Yelich is having a nice bounce back year. I'm happy for that. They still have good pitching. I'm gonna go with the Brewers. I think the Reds are a year away. I think the Cubs were not expecting to be this close. I'm gonna go with the Brewers, mainly because I've seen it before.
I like that. And I'm a little torn between wanting to make a like a standout pick, really, but I don't think.
Pirates.
Well, we're not going that bold. Um, I think the Brewers is where I land at the end of the day, just because, like you said, they've been there before. A Yelich resurgence is awesome. I love to see that this year. They've got a lot of young pieces that are contributing. The pitching's always there for the Brewers. Um, just bringing in, they did bring in pieces, and like I said, I think this gives them a shot of urgency that they're going to need to actually start taking the season seriously. And I think they will, and it'll give them a little urgency to try and actually compete for the division and actually try to win it. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Brewers too, as of right now.
If
Um,
the season ended today, your wild card matchup would be Reds and Brewers. Winner gets the Dodgers. And as a Dodger fan, and I know it just said I think the Brewers are going to win the division. I don't want any part of the Reds. Give me the Brewers. Give me the plain, boring Brewers. Don't give me the young, have nothing to lose for hungry Reds. Don't give me that.
Definitely.
If that happens in October, I will be rooting like hell for the Brewers to win that
Yeah,
series.
yeah, I agree. As a Phillies fan, I'm definitely more content playing the Giants right now than playing the Reds. Like you said, don't want any of that. And that perfectly leads us right into here because talk about the NL wild card. Bit of a shakeup just to go down through the current standings. My Phillies sitting first in the wild card, 61 and 51. They have the tiebreaker over the Giants. The Giants are 61 and 51 as well, giving them a 2.5 game advantage over the Reds, who are 16-55. Then the Cubs sitting a half game back of them, 58-54. The Marlins, only 2 games above 500 now, 58 and 56. There was a time when the Marlins had the second best record in the National
In the
League,
National League.
1.5 games back of the wild card. The Arizona Diamondbacks, man, 1 game above 500.
What
Melo
a
is
fall
just,
from grace.
yeah, yeah, it really is. They're 2 games back. The San Diego Padres trying to sneak their way into the conversation. Still 3 games behind, or 3 games
Didn't
out of
didn't help
500.
themselves over the weekend.
Yeah, they did not. 4 games back of the last wild card spot. We'll keep it short and sweet here. What 3 teams at the end of the day do you like to make it into the wild card?
Phillies, I think they're a lock. I'll be very surprised if they miss. This is where it gets interesting.
The other teams are very interesting.
I'm gonna go Reds. This is not the order I think. This is just the top three things that teams that I think are gonna get in. Phillies, Reds. Oh man, that last one's a toss up.
Yeah,
I can make a case for the Cubs. I can make a case for the Giants. I can make a case for the Marlins, and I can make a case for the Diamondbacks.
definitely.
Just because I know the way that organization likes to operate, because they're again, like they did in 2021, they're outplaying their expectations. Give me the San Francisco Giants. I
Okay.
think those are your three teams. So basically, where we sit at right now is kind of what I'm leaning at.
Okay.
And
I
you?
like I like my Phillies, definitely.
You
Whether it
better.
is 1, 2, or 3, I'm sure hoping 1, but 1 or 2 I'll take. I don't really want 3. I mean, playing the winner of the NL Central wouldn't be too bad, but you don't want to be scrapping your way at the end of the season, really. You want to know where you're at. Next
And then
team,
you don't want to run into the Braves either.
that's
It's like
right.
you did all this to win 2 wildcard games, and then here come the Braves that have been off for a week.
Yeah. I mean,
Even
hey,
though
we
you
took
did it
care of
last year.
business. We did. We took care of business last year. But I don't know if lightning strikes twice. This Braves team is one of the best Braves teams of all time right now. Second, I'm going to take the Giants too.
Boo.
I think they've just been pretty consistently good. They've been in a bit of a lull right now. Uh,
Swept by the A's over the weekend.
yeah. It
Love,
was
would
a
love to see that.
2 game set, so
True.
don't know what to make of that. Last team here. Give me the Chicago Cubs. Let's
Oh,
see it. Let's see it. Led by Marcus Stroman, Justin Steele there in the rotation. I'm picking the Reds or the Cardinals. Not the Cardinals. The Cubs over the
don't do that.
Reds. No. The Cubs got the veteran pieces there. The guys who have been there before. You got Cody Bellinger. You got Dansby Swanson, who you brought in. You got these veterans in the pitching staff too. I like that a little bit better going down the stretch than the Reds and their young guys. It can go either way with young guys. They can collapse under the pressure or they can shine because they have nothing to lose and it's their first time being there. Sometimes it's hard to say, but I like the Cubs in that last spot. And another reason, Reds current run differential -26, Cubs +75. I
They've been
like
on a
that
tear
number a
lately.
lot. Yes, I like that number a lot. I think that's third best. Yeah, that's third best in the National League. So I like that. It's not everything, but I think it means something to me. Yeah. Anything else you want to add for the National League or really this episode at all?
I really hope the Dodgers pull away in the division because I enjoy seeing chaos in the wild card, kind of like what we had last year. A little bit, but it seems like it's going to be more this year, especially in the National League. I don't think anything's going to be determined until like the final weekend of the season. I think every one of these teams is going to be within 2 games of each other. And I think that's fantastic for the sport.
Yeah, I think it's great. Um, I do wish, I really wish the Marlins or Diamondbacks would have held on a little bit more. And not that they're out of it by any stretch of the imagination. 1.5 games, 2 backs, or 2 games back is not out of it at all. But like, I wish that they were really like just a half a game back, or right there tied with them. And we could still see that. I think the D-backs would be a very fun playoff team.
And before everybody gets mad, and I will still say it, don't sleep on the San Diego Padres. I will throw them. I'll feed them a bone. I'll throw them in the mix. 4 games is not impossible.
No?
It's not. I think the division's out of it. And I think that's what I think that's what the Padres are telling themselves too. Forget
Hey,
the division. Let's just get the wild card.
welcome to where the Phillies have been this whole season. From opening day, we shut down our expectations to win the division. So, yeah. But I like where a lot of the NL teams are at. It's tough to pick just 3 teams. I don't feel super confident picking just those 3 out of like the 6, 7 that are contending. It could go a lot of different ways. I think that's going to do it though for episode 28 here. It's a good episode. Gotta say.
Very good episode.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it. Episode 29 coming out on Thursday, Friday. So look forward to that. And yeah, I think that's gonna do it. We'll talk to you later.
Adios.